Zombie on the track.
Started from the bottom.
Okay. Well, let's get started. Okay, so hello. We are on Coffee Friends 11. I look crazy in this light, but got some Christmas jumpers and Revolver hats. So now you know where we are. Hi, George. Revolver shirt.
Yep.
Okay,
Right
so
over my heart.
tell us who you are and where you work, what you do.
My name is George Giannakos, and I am a co-owner, founder, and current GM of Revolver Coffee in Vancouver, Canada.
Great. If you could be any animal, what would you be?
Probably a shark.
A shark. It's very
A
vicious.
tiger shark.
A coffee drinking shark.
Probably wouldn't taste too good with the salt water.
No. Alright. So I was gonna say, where are we right now? We're in the vault?
We're in the Revolver Vault, which is part of Archive, and it's a true vault that we obviously use as inventory. But it's a legit 3 feet of cement in every direction.
So nothing's going anywhere.
Nothing's going anywhere.
Cool. Coffee is safe.
Coffee's safe.
Don't ever try to break into Revolver.
No.
Cool.
Well, you can get in, but can you get out? That's the problem.
Okay, so it's a little bit coffee centric, and I just want you to tell me maybe about how Revolver has kind of taken part in the Vancouver specialty coffee community, and you know how it's evolved.
So Revolver, we opened September 2nd. So it's been just over 4 years now. And prior to that, but still exists, I worked at West Vancouver. All my brothers have worked there or still do in some form, including here. But I worked at Crema for 5 years until this opened, and then I've been here full time since. And Revolver is, so Crema is a more traditional style cafe, full bakery and coffee and sandwiches. So it's a great place to go. But we wanted to open something that was a bit more coffee focused, coffee centric. So right now all our baked goods come from Crema, but everything else is coffee. And that was the vision here. And so the menu is quite simple. There's like 8 items on the actual board, but within those items, you can dive pretty deep if you want to. So the idea behind Revolver though is to, 1 cup at a time, and to offer various brew methods, and for customers and coffee industry alike to find stuff that they might not be able to find other places, or would have a hard time, especially all under one roof.
Yeah, it certainly seems like you. It's very well thought out, and everything is very intentional in that, like the types of coffees you bring in, what's served as baked goods, and the fact that you guys don't do food. Like, I think that's quite intentional because it's coffee focused. So how do you think, like, as far as bringing customers in, or like community, as far as customers and shops alike, how do we get them to interact with each other in Vancouver? Because I know we've talked a lot about what Vancouver looks like when you first kind of take a superficial look at it. I suppose, how does Revolver play a role in that? Or maybe, how do you think we could improve on whatever's missing, you think?
Well, speaking of Revolver's role,
Love from Gastown, thank you.
speaking of Revolver's role, because we bring in stuff, I mean, right now we are carrying Matchstick, which obviously is from Vancouver, but everything else we have is not from Vancouver.
Which I think is really great perspective for people in Vancouver.
Totally. So it allows people to come and try something new, and also, I mean, I want to say neutral ground as if like there's some weird territory stuff, but I like to think that we're very inclusive and people come and they can try new stuff. There's already so many great places where you can get Vancouver roasters, so we want to showcase some other stuff, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the questions I asked our guest last week because she's starting a roastery. Little sister's starting a roastery in Manitoba, but she brings in the beans from Minnesota. And I was like, well, how do people, like other people, feel about that in the city? Oh, are you not supporting local, or like maybe pros and cons to community and like challenging the community to grow through bringing something new, right?
Yeah, totally. And I mean that, obviously when we founded it, there was a question of how will people perceive it. I mean, we believe we're obviously showcasing things like coffee is. You hear it a billion times. Coffee is not a local product. Period.
Yeah.
It's maybe roasted locally and delivered locally, but that's as local as it gets. But for us, one thing that I think that separates us, if you want to talk about that direction of locality, we're a family-owned business. We all live with like 6 owners who live in Vancouver, who work in the business in some form. Our money, like we all live in Vancouver.
Local businesses kind of plug back into community.
Totally. So when you support Revolver, you're supporting a family essentially who is as local as it gets. I mean, Vancouver's our home. So yeah, it's but no, totally, it's a valid question, and one that I've thought about too.
Okay, I have a little more controversial one. There's a lot of talk about by the cup brewing and batch brewing, and how there really isn't, for consistency's sake, like, and speed and convenience. Everybody's like, oh well, maybe we don't need to do by the cup. I was gonna quote Colin's like feck cupping thing, but actually that's a completely different subject.
Yeah.
More so like Myriad tweeted out the other day. They're like, oh well, like we're gonna give up on by the cup, and I know that's a huge part of what you guys do. Would you consider going batch?
If we ever consider going batch, it would not be for any of those reasons. I did watch Colin's video. I completely agree with it.
Yeah.
I don't cup coffees. I taste them.
Right.
For the last 2 years. I've been the director of coffee here. We do not do cuppings to determine if we're going to serve a coffee or buy a coffee.
Right. It's not relevant.
I don't feel it. Not to
for
my purpose for
customers.
customers.
Of coffee.
And not to me.
Right.
Also, because I'm drinking it. I want to brew it. Like I don't like when I make myself a cup of coffee, I brew it.
I don't cup it.
Right. So,
how often do we wake up in the morning and go, oh man, I really want to cup that
totally.
coffee?
Totally. So I'm 100%. I'm glad that he said it in the way he did, because he delivered it
bold way.
really well. Yeah, but and also a well thought out way.
Right.
But regarding Myriad's comment, I worked at Myriad for 3 months.
Okay.
It has a very special spot in my heart, and was a huge influence and inspiration for what we do here.
Right.
Anthony and even Scott, when he was part of it, were quite pivotal on my coffee development. That said, I don't believe that I've seen batch brew and by the cup in the same place being done in a way that makes sense to do by the cup. Yeah. So we only do by the cup.
Or SB9 here.
Well, we only do by the cup.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. We only do. I mean, I entered the competition, but I didn't win. So
Marco, you should send us a splurty. Just saying.
Right here.
Okay.
So, like, I totally agree with what Myriad was saying.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody has a different viewpoint on the issue. Like, I think that's why there's different cafes that are offering different things. So.
Totally. But I think when you go somewhere that's offering by the cup and batch brew, they're just not. You need to be set up for one or the other. Essentially, it's hard to communicate why you should get by the cup if you have batch brew. Like, you kind of have the worst of both worlds, in my opinion. Where here we just have by the cup, so we don't have the speed, obviously, or the same consistency that a Fedco would bring, but we do have heavy consistency.
So if I get an under extracted, what do I do with it?
Here?
Yeah.
What would you do with a batch brew?
Send it back.
You can do the same thing.
It's so awkward. But
we always want to make sure whatever you get was right, for sure. But I do believe I've had I've had amazing batch brews. I've had amazing by the cups. I've had really bad batch brews. I've had really bad by the cups. I think it's all relative.
And then on a lighter note, I guess I'm going back to community, and a lot of, like, we did a small poll of the community, and I said, well, what would you see value in bringing to, like, bring people together? Events was one of them. Chris wants to do a dodgeball tournament. Chris, your brother, wants to do. Yeah, and so, I mean, you guys have a cupping today, for example, at 12 o'clock. Show up for cupping.
Tasting.
Tasting, sorry. We don't. Okay, well, I haven't actually been to one. I'm going to be at today's. And, you know, that's one way of engaging customers and creating interest. How, what do you see as fitting into Vancouver to create interest?
For customers or coffee industry?
A bit of both. I feel like when we're excited about it and we seem infectious and, like, yeah, excited about what we're doing, I think customers see that and they're like, okay, well, maybe I could drink coffee. Maybe I could. I'm not a huge connoisseur, but I could be exposed to that.
Well, for one, I'm totally down with dodgeball.
Cool.
If that happens.
Dodgeball, it's happening. It's definitely happening in the new year.
I'll throw in a 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
Oh,
So I'm
3-on-3
big fan
basketball.
of basketball.
Okay.
We can even, maybe we can,
Oh,
we can set it up in a coffee shop and have 3-pointers.
Well, there's definitely
across
going to
the
be
way.
drinks involved in that one.
Yeah. I've mentioned to you before.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
It's an enigma.
yeah. But personally, I feel like as a cafe owner, that's what we do every day. Like, any customer here was not a customer before we existed, obviously. Hopefully, a lot of them came from different backgrounds of coffee drinking, and they've seen our passion, or they've seen a photo and they're like, okay, I'll check it out because it looks cool. So anyone who's become a regular, I will take it as some kind of like I like to think we are a community.
We've converted
here, so
you.
to speak. Yeah,
Right.
Revolver is a community. Outside of that, I don't know yet.
Okay. And do you think, like, then this coffee community conversation is a bit redundant then? You can be honest. Like, because if that's everything that you do every day and that's what you think about as a cafe owner, then somebody might be like, well, like, why is she making such a big fuss about this?
Well, I think that every time I'm here, I am doing something for the coffee. Would it be redundant? Maybe, for lack of better words, because yes, it's kind of a similar idea. Mm-hmm. But is it a bad idea? No, definitely not. And could coffee industry people get together more?
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to. There's no harm in that, for sure. I mean, I used to write on a blog
yeah.
quite often.
Well, that takes a lot of time.
It takes a ton of time. But people have read it. Like, people are hungry for coffee information and coffee things.
Right. So if we put more content out there, people will eat it up.
I think so, for sure. As long as it's good. You know what? Even bad content right now would get something. But like the AeroPress Championship that we had here and Elysian had, huge turnouts. And
Yeah,
they
that's
were
what I
really
heard.
fun, right? Like, they really were.
And
They
I
were
want to
great.
build on that. Like, that's exciting.
Yeah, and that was customers and industry,
Mm-hmm.
and also not work related. So like that's a perfect example of something I think that parts the ways and is like this unique.
I think that's very cool. And so we're at our last question.
Okay,
Who's your nomination for the next coffee friend?
my nomination is Annabelle Choi.
Annabelle Choi. Ah, yay.
She does a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't think if I tried to say what she does, I'd be missing like 10. But she does a lot.
She's Chef Annabelle Choi now.
Chef Annabelle Choi. Shay Annabelle.
Okay.
She's a great baker. She loves coffee. And I think she'd be great.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
So, bye for now. Number 11. See you later.